very sing-songy mood I'm in today. I don't know why that would be. Maybe it's because we're on the second of the... What are we calling it? Are we calling it Morgan Hasn't Seen It, MCU edition? I think that's what we're calling it. We are on the second one of those. Last week, I hadn't seen Iron Man, and we talked about that. And by we, I, of course, don't mean me and Nolan Dean, who you usually see on this podcast feed. I mean me and Jeannine the Machine, who is back. Yay. Hi, Jeannine.
Hello. How are you, Morgan?
I'm wonderful. As this podcast would, or this feed would suggest, I also haven't seen it, like this podcast would suggest. This week, still counting down to Avengers Endgame. We worked this out very, very accurately, because I haven't seen, how many movies is it? Is it 6?
It's about 6, I think.
About 6. We already did Iron Man, because I'd never seen Iron Man. So this week we move on to the next one, which, Jeannine, is...
The Incredible Hulk.
Now, what are your thoughts on The Incredible Hulk?
Well, I'm kind of sad that it's seen as like the bastard stepchild of the MCU.
It is.
There's a lot of great character stuff in this movie.
I do agree with that. I mean, the idea of it being the bastard stepchild of the MCU is very funny, because obviously it's not the only recasting in the MCU that we've ever seen, but it's kind of the most notable, and it's sort of the most tonal shift, considering this was the Hulk's movie, and then what the Hulk is, or what the Hulk was going forward. Like, I think with Rhodey in, obviously, Iron Man. Obviously, I've only seen him in Iron Man, and then in, post the Avengers. Okay. But I don't feel like he changes a great deal.
No.
Ultimately.
This is a whole shift, and the only thing really brought over from those movies is the General Ross character.
Yes, who I referred to as the hologram from Infinity War.
He didn't even really have a name.
Because I forget characters like this, because obviously I didn't meet them when they were introduced.
Yeah.
I just see them as, is he a senator? What is he, a shield? I don't know. What is he? It's General what's his Thunderbolt, which is, I'm sure, a name that Thor is very envious of.
Yes.
Ross, who is played by William Hurt? Question mark.
Yes, William Hurt.
Okay, but yeah, he's the only sort of transfer into the rest of the movies from this movie. Jeannine, why do you think that is? Where is Liv Tyler?
I don't know. I really loved that romance. I thought it was a essential part of that story. So for her to not really even be acknowledged is kind of sad. And I don't know how they got away with not even really just referencing that, what happened to her or what.
I don't know either, to be honest with you. My thoughts are that Liv Tyler and Mark Ruffalo hate each other. So there was never... Or maybe Liv Tyler and, Feige or whoever had a fallout, and because Feige seemed to fall out with everybody on this movie, including Ed Norton.
Yes.
Who... now... I know people generally have their opinions on this movie as sort of, it's a Hulk movie. They've never done a Hulk movie very well, and blah, 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 blah. Great, okay. Actually, I will disagree with that. Having seen it for the first time the other day, I think this is a great Hulk movie.
Or do you think it's a great Bruce Banner movie?
I think I do. No, that's true, actually. That's a very good point. It's an okay Hulk movie. It's a great Bruce Banner movie.
Yes, because the Hulk stuff was the
Yeah.
look, the CGI was not great.
Oh no, the Hulk
Very
the Hulk
cartoony.
looks it is. The Hulk looks so much better. Ruffalo.
Yes.
Even as far back as the Avengers,
Yeah.
it looked much better.
I liked that they incorporated the look of the actual man into the character.
Yeah.
He was more real.
Could you imagine if the Hulk had Ed Norton's face? That wouldn't look right
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
That would be far too pointy and long.
But
yeah.
I think they were just mostly kind of referencing comic images of the Hulk to get the Hulk look. But I think it was definitely smarter to incorporate the actual character into that.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to this movie, I think it's kind of a shame that, of course, we end up with, it finishes with a big CG monster fight, because that's kind of the worst part.
Yeah.
It is. And then again, this is coming from me, who has never seen these early MCU movies before deciding on this particular show. And yeah, but I do really love Bruce Banner in this movie. I think Ed Norton is the Bruce Banner I want to see. He's the really sort of isolated, kind of sad, kind of... I said it feels like Bruce has a disease in this movie. I feel like, like some sort of blood disease.
Yeah.
I feel like there could have been some really good commentary, like social commentary, in Hulk stories that were maybe written around the height of AIDS.
Yeah. That might be interesting.
I feel like that could have been... I don't know enough about the Hulk to know if that happened or not, but I feel like it was a missed opportunity if they didn't, because I really like this sort of... the imagery of a sort of in pain, quite sad, quite isolated, disease-feeling Bruce Banner, who's just trying to cure himself as much as he can. And it helps that Ed Norton looks kind of, meek and thin all the time.
Yeah. But I think we also kind of came across some like Universal Monsters like comparisons.
Yes.
And similarities, not just the obvious Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing, but also like the Wolfman and King Kong and...
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even thinking of Jekyll and Hyde at all. And that might be the most obvious, although maybe something like Two-Face is more akin to Jekyll and Hyde in terms of comics. But the Wolfman, definitely. Especially in this movie, where, for the most part, Bruce can't control Hulk.
Yeah.
And obviously werewolves can't control when they become a werewolf. That's, okay, it's up to the moon, they sort of know. Unless, they take some sort of potion like Lupin in Harry Potter. But no, I like the comparison of Hulk in this movie to a werewolf. Again, with the isolation aspect. Going back to Lupin, look what he had to do. He had to isolate himself every time he did this because he knew what he was. And that was it. Lupin very much feels like in Harry Potter as though he's got a blood disease.
Yes.
And he's all sort of sad and thin and in pain all the time. It's very similar.
And he is a good man, but he can't control it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's the same as Banner. This is not to say that I'm saying Mark Ruffalo I don't like as Bruce Banner. I think Mark Ruffalo is great.
It's just different.
Exactly. I said that Mark Ruffalo, I think, plays the scientist aspect of Banner up a lot better.
Yeah.
And the sort of confusion. I think Mark Ruffalo is a very good confused actor. He plays confused like very, very few people. I mean, look at him in Infinity War and like Ragnarok.
Yeah.
He's confused
all
the
the time.
And it's great. It's funny. But it's not the kind of very kind of serious tone of Bruce Banner
That Norton takes,
that Norton takes.
But I like your whole thought process of it being like he thinks of it as a disease, because that kind of led to some really smart choices, like him, being in a secluded place, not just that, but taking steps to learn how to control his anger and his moods, monitoring it, just making some really smart choices to keep people safe.
Yeah.
I really liked a lot of that stuff.
Norton definitely has the, level of smarts or cleverness that Ruffalo's Banner has. I just think Ruffalo is more... Okay, it works that Ruffalo is in the current MCU with the way it is.
Yes.
And the sort of more grand...
friendly.
Friendly. Even though, it's getting a bit dark at the minute.
Yeah.
But he works so much better. I could not imagine Ed Norton in the Avengers.
I can't either.
Because this movie and his version of Banner is way too serious.
Yeah.
It's way too dark.
Yeah.
For that particular universe. And it is kind of why I like it. It's kind of why I really like it. And I know that Norton, rewrote a lot of this, apparently, even though he didn't get credit.
So I think that's why it comes from a lot of more real aspects of the character, because he was probably thinking of it in a realistic way and a more humanizing way.
I mean, he was probably looking at what Nolan was doing with Batman.
Yeah.
And thinking, I want to do Hulk like that, so I'm going to do Hulk like that, and it works.
Yeah,
it's just a real shame that the sort of rest of the story
it just kind of goes generic.
Doesn't,
because they were doing some really
generic.
Interesting things, like him taking coaching with somebody to train his breathing, and
it's like him and Doctor Strange could have had a meditation off.
Yeah.
If Ed Norton had have stuck around. But imagine Mark Ruffalo meditating to try and control Hulk. Yeah. Hulk controls Banner at this point.
Yeah.
Hulk just screams, no, I'm not coming out right now.
I'm tired of protecting you. I'm done. Do it yourself.
I mean, that's another thing that's really quite different, is that I think these days, Hulk and Banner are two very different entities in the same body, but you definitely get the, idea in this that Hulk is a part of Bruce.
Yeah.
Hulk is just he's the angry side of Bruce.
But even when Betty's kind of telling him, she's like, I felt like in the cave you knew me. And you part of you was still in there. And he was just like, no, I don't even want it to be, part of me. And she's like, no, I could, you were kind and you felt like you knew me. So that was kind of a moment of realizing that, the separation may not be as, obvious as he thinks. They're really linked on both ends.
And that's why I really do like this version of the Banner and Hulk dichotomy, if you want to call it that, much better than the Ruffalo version of Hulk and Banner's sort of things. And like I said, I think Ruffalo works perfectly. I like Ruffalo. I much prefer Hulk in terms of Ruffalo, Hulk himself, because even now that he sort of starts speaking quite a lot as well, it's kind of fun. And it works really well. But what was I going to ask you? Tim Roth.
How'd you think? I mean, Jeannine, the villains Jeannine, are always what do you make of not Tim a shining Roth? Point.
Do you like Tim Roth in this movie?
I like Tim Roth generally, but in this movie he was pretty generic. He wasn't really anything special.
Not at all. He is impossibly forgettable.
Yes.
And the Abomination looks like an abomination.
It does.
It's not great. I mean, yeah, okay, look, we had some CG in Iron Man
Yeah.
that came out the same year, 2008, that looked perfectly fine. No problems there.
This just looked so cartoony. It looked like it was a cartoon from a comic book. Like, that's what it looked like.
Well, it looked like the mid-2000s Fantastic Four movies at some point.
Oh.
Which, okay, I suppose I can watch those movies if I really want to.
Yeah.
Not that I frequently want to, but maybe put it down to technology wasn't as good 10 years ago as it is now, which obviously it wasn't.
Yeah.
But there was still good things going on at that time, and I just don't think the Incredible Hulk got the best of the best.
No, it did not. And it's just disappointing considering you had a lot of great things that grounded the story in some kind of reality, and then you get this cartoony fight at the end. It's just like, well, I guess we have to put it in there because it's a Hulk movie and that's what people want to see. They want to see Hulk fighting, but
I don't want to see that. I'm putting my hand up.
I was just
I don't want to see
into
that.
all the character stuff up until that point that, it was just kind of like, meh.
Yeah, it's very meh. I would happily watch a Hulk movie where we never really see the Hulk fight anything. I don't need to see the Hulk fight anything. I have learned from watching this movie what my feelings towards the Incredible Hulk as a character are. And it is very much this sad, pained man.
Yeah.
Who can't control himself.
And that's why
and
the
he's
mid-fight...
trying to control himself.
Yeah. And that's why the mid-fight that was like at the college or whatever wasn't as bad to me.
Yeah,
it was a little bit bad because, I mean, part of the reason they did that was because Betty hadn't really seen him turn.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of, her dad, General Ross, wanted her to see, this is the monster that he is. And her, so that was a big part of that. That's why that mid-fight part was a lot better than the end fight for me.
And for me too, I really did like that, but I liked that they barely showed Hulk in full. Was that the same one? Where they barely showed Hulk in the full sort of light, and it was just kind of dark.
Yeah.
And you just saw the shadow and the big sort of outline, which was great, right up until the end where the light comes on him and he screams. Perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
Keep it like that. I want my Hulk movie dark. I want my Hulk movie sad up until the end where Banner eventually finds some sort of way to quell it.
Yeah.
Which, okay, he does at the end of this.
Yes.
But it's sadly interspersed with the whole Emil Blonsky Abomination storyline.
Oh, yeah. No.
And I like Tim Roth too. Generally, I like Tim Roth. This is the one movie I've seen with Tim Roth in where I've been like, what are you doing, Tim?
Yeah, you do not really fit in the story. We don't really need you in the story.
But they need a villain. They need a big, silly villain. And we had a big, silly villain in Iron Man. Even though Jeff Bridges is great. But, I mean, the Ironmonger, no.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same kind of third act as Iron Man.
It's the exact same.
Yeah.
It's the exact same, although the ending of The Incredible Hulk, much more pleasing to me than the ending of Iron Man. Say I am Iron Man all you want, Tony, you arrogant thing.
At least you saw, him controlling his powers at the end. You get the green-eyed look and the little smirk.
I'd rather have Banner being able to control this monster that has pained him for so long.
Yeah.
Rather than Tony Stark just go, yeah, I'm the guy. It's me. It's all me. Only me.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, Tony. There's other people as well. Tony Stark early Tony Stark
well,
is the kind of guy.
maybe the next two you still have to see Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3. So maybe
Yes, but
your fondness for Tony will grow a little bit.
maybe it will. And I mean, I don't hate current Tony Stark. I quite like current Tony Stark. I think he's learnt a lot of humility, as we discussed last week.
But
in
to
the Iron Man
he
thing.
is Tony Stink.
Yes, he is. To quote the great Stanley, he is Tony Stank. And not Tony Stinks.
Tony Stank.
Because stank is the past tense and Tony stank in the past. And like I said, these are my raw thoughts on just Iron Man 1, having not seen 2 or 3.
Okay. So maybe things will change. Maybe you'll hate him more. Maybe you'll
Who knows?
empathize a little bit. Or
Who knows?
sympathize. We'll see.
But The Incredible Hulk, I can't admit to being so excited to watch.
Yeah. This movie
because
probably had a bad reputation. Like, it had some stank on it.
It did.
as it were.
It did. But I don't know, maybe it is that. What do you think? Maybe it is the fact that it is so sort of not talked about and so generally at the bottom of people's lists of top MCU movies. I don't care what you think, but you're going to tell me anyway. You know the type of people I mean.
Yes.
But yeah, maybe that's why I kind of like it. Because
you just want to be different. You just want to stick it to the man.
Well, I often
you
do
just want to, veer from the pack.
Is admittedly true. I host a, classic movie show for a reason, because nobody else talks about it who are anywhere near the age of me. So thanks again to Nolan for doing that with me for nearly a year now.
Yay, Nolan.
In fact, over a year. Over a year now it will be. By the time this episode goes up, quite a bit over a year, which is great.
That's wonderful.
It is wonderful. I'm sure everyone will have seen our 1-year anniversary celebration posts, which is probably just going to be like, hey, thanks, it's been a year. Keep listening.
Did you notice? I hope you noticed.
No? Okay. You didn't. Okay. It's fine. But yeah, what was I talking about? I don't know.
Why you like this movie, part of it, because it's kind of the least.
Because it's low-key.
And I don't think people really have revisited it. They just kind of think of what they thought of it and just have forgotten it. Because, like I said, there is some great character stuff. It's a great, interesting version of Bruce Banner. I like that Betty plays a decent role in here where, the love story kind of plays into it and kind of her going off and helping him. I love all of that stuff.
Yeah. There's good stuff in it, and it's a shame to me as well, like you said before, that Liv Tyler has never been seen again.
Yeah, because I really liked her character. I liked their love story. I loved that moment in the rain.
The moment where she sees him back for the and that's kind of it's very sweet.
Yes,
it's very sweet. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what Betty would think of the whole. Is it like around the Avengers and around Ultron time when Black Widow's the one who calms him down a lot?
Yes, it's Ultron. In Ultron, where they kind of have their little romance.
Yeah, I don't know what Betty would think of that.
I mean, I think there is a throwaway line in there somewhere about her, but other than that,
it's a shame.
Yeah,
it's a real shame that Marvel have definitely tossed this movie aside slightly. And I'm just very glad that I've seen it now and realised that it has really good stuff in there.
Yeah.
Because I did not believe that to be the case. And I almost preferred this to Iron Man.
Yeah. So
because it felt different.
What were some specific things that you liked?
Well, I really do like the Bruce Banner meditating
Okay.
whole thing to control it.
Yeah.
Even though I joke about him and Doctor Strange having a meditation off. Doctor Strange would obviously win. I'm sure Doctor Strange could go on for weeks. But, yeah. And annoy Bruce, and then you know what happens there. Smashy, smashy, smash. Smashy, smashy, smashy.
And I know you like some of the...
There's something I didn't like.
Oh, the
in The
smashy
Incredible
smash.
Hulk.
Hulk smash!
I get that Hulk says Hulk smash a lot. Okay, I get that he says that. I get that that's his thing. But it was so badly done.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't good. And that's what I'm saying. It's just a shame that this movie is in two different... It feels like Justice League.
Yeah.
There's great parts that are more serious. In fact, kind of the opposite of Justice League, right?
Yeah.
Because the more fun parts were the better parts in that.
Yeah. The more serious, thoughtful parts were better in this. And then when they try to be kind of...
When they try to be like they are now...
Like a big comic book movie, it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It falls way flat.
They don't have the... I don't know. They don't quite have their formula, their way of doing things down yet. I don't think at this point. And obviously they hadn't been bought by Disney yet either.
Yeah, they were still Universal. So yeah, a dark CGI fight in the streets of Harlem, Canada. It was not very exciting for me.
Yeah, that wasn't New York City.
No.
That was not New York City. We'd know. Nowadays, I'm sure they do film in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
But
they got the monies.
Because they got the money
Mickey
now.
monies.
But yeah, Ed Norton should be very proud of his contributions to this movie. I think anybody that I come across that's saying like Ed Norton was rightly gotten rid of.
No.
No, he wasn't.
A lot of just doesn't. I can't say enough about the choices made in this movie.
No, I would have happily seen a pure standalone Ed Norton Hulk trilogy. Yeah, okay, maybe not in the MCU because again the tones just
way
don't
off. Yeah,
fit with what they're doing now. But this is a movie that I will want to go back to.
Yeah,
and watch again. Certainly more than some MCU movies that I have seen. And yeah,
and I think a lot of people should go back and revisit this one. Like I don't think they do or have the desire to, but I think it's definitely worth it. I mean, there's stuff about, PTSD and... Yeah,
that's reminded me of one particular really good shot I liked where, Banner I think he's just come out from being Hulk and he's just sort of huddled in a bathtub.
Yes, because he's just getting flashes and sounds of everything that happened. Yeah. And it just kind of frightens him.
It was... Like, that sort of stuff is heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy. That sort of imagery is really, really heavy. It's not what you expected to see in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. It's what you expect to see in... It reminded me of that one panel from Daredevil Born Again where Matt Murdock is just lied on his bed in depression because the Kingpin's ruining his life.
Yeah.
And it's really moving.
Yeah. They've just thought about so really much.
They really did.
Like even the fact that poor Bruce Banner can't even get lucky because if his blood pressure gets too high. Like that was funny and sad and like really smart all at once. Like you don't really think about that.
And that's that's sort of humor that wouldn't be in place in the universe today, I don't think. But yeah, that was really That's a light-hearted moment, but then also like a really kind of sad
Sad
moment.
moment. Yeah. And just very
Because it's just
smart.
like, oh,
Because I didn't even
Bruce,
think about that. And like, yeah, if his blood pressure gets too high with other
yeah,
things, it's likely to
it's not
believe
gonna
that
go
that
well.
would, yeah.
It's not gonna go well. Everything just goes wrong for
Yes.
Bruce, which is why it's so much more satisfying to see him learn to control Hulk
At the end, yeah.
at the end.
And then you find out
And
it's because he's always angry.
that's a stupid thing. But yeah, okay. No, I do like that. I do like that he learns to control Hulk, and I like the idea of Hulk being able to be controlled by Bruce as he is now in terms of Ruffalo,
Yeah.
and they have, I said before that Hulk basically controls Bruce right now, but back in the Avengers and Ultron time,
Yeah.
Banner very much controlled Hulk. It was his decision when Hulk came out. He could just turn it on like that, as we saw with that really sort of kind of iconic twisty punch thing.
Yeah.
Is that in the Avengers? I think so.
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
I think so. But then, yeah, because Mark Ruffalo says, "Thing is, I'm always angry."
Meow, meow.
And,
Meow,
yeah.
meow.
But to start to wrap this up, because we like to keep these tight and short, or at least shorter than the usual episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast that you can find on this feed. Yeah, The Incredible Hulk is a underappreciated movie.
It is.
As far as this first-time watcher is concerned. Jeannine, your last little thoughts on the Hulk? The Incredible Hulk. Not Hulk with Eric Bana.
Oh, no, definitely not. Definitely worth a revisit. I do like this movie more than most. Just some very smart choices. I love that there's a lot of stuff set in reality. I like Betty's role in the story. And yeah, definitely worth people going back and checking out and really focusing on the great character work done in this movie.
Yeah. So, to wrap up this second consecutive week of Morgan Hasn't Seen It MCU edition, which I think I've decided is what we're calling this.
I like that.
You like that? Then it's settled.
All right.
It's settled. That is what we're calling it. The Incredible Hulk is great. And the MCU is now, or the new, not the new MCU, the MCU movies I haven't seen are now 2 for 2 on being good. So, well done, even though I kind of prefer the tone of this to the tone of Iron Man. But that's just me. Please hate me all you want. Hi. Guys, thank you for listening to this half hour of nonsense about the Incredible Hulk. What else? What can you do? You can, share this around and leave a nice 5-star review on this, and you might be seeing, who knows, we may do more weird random episodes of Morgan Hasn't Seen It, whatever edition. Because I haven't seen a lot, Jeannine, as you well know. I have significant gaps in modern movie knowledge. Which comes as no surprise to everyone, as I mainly focus on older stuff. And for all my thoughts on older stuff, there's another show that you can see on this feed. It's the name of the whole thing. It's a Wonderful Podcast with me and Nolan Dean. Every Friday, we break down a different older movie. And by older, we mean like pre-1970, because we're real like that. But it's very fun. It's kind of silly as well, because, it's got me on and I act like this a lot. So, yeah, it's always a fun discussion about older movies you may not be familiar with, or you may be familiar with but haven't seen, or you may love. But it's a nice, positive place for the most part. I think there's only been like 2 movies we haven't really liked that much. we just did our Western month in January as well. So if you like Westerns, we have 4 straight episodes of Westerns there for you to go and check out. But you can follow the podcast in general on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. You can follow me on Twitter at The Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E in the, because 3 is the magic number. I went into song a bit again then, I don't know why. And Jeannine is laughing at me, as she often does. But yes, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Jeannine, plug away all your fun stuff.
You can find me on pretty much all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, at Jeannine Da Bean. That's D-A Bean. I have a tea shop on TeePublic at Jeannine Design. And you can see me on the Schmodown as Jeannine the Machine. I will be competing live in New York on January 26th.
Well, technically you have competed live in New York on January 26th.
I will have already done it. Well, now I have time-stamped us. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, people are familiar with the concept of pre-recording, I think. It's not new.
So we're safe. Okay.
We're safe. Okay.
But yeah, that's all the stuff, all the things. This was fun once again.
It is. I can't wait to do... What is next week?
Iron Man 2, I believe.
Iron Man 2. Yes. And then we get to Thor.
You're waiting.
Yes. I'm waiting for Thor. Because I love Thor. And I have never seen Thor. Well, I have. I've seen
just Ragnarok.
That's the only Thor movie I've seen.
Well, we will get there.
But I like Thor. We will get there. And that will be next week. Iron Man 2... Who knows if I'm going to like Iron Man 2? If you go by what everybody else says, that's a no. But that was the same with Hulk, and I ended up really liking The Incredible Hulk. So, yeah. Until next week, guys, on Morgan Hasn't Seen It, MCU edition. I'm going to keep saying colon because I think it's funny. Bye.